Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about Absolute Catwoman issue 2, written by Chi Grayson and Scott Snyder, with art by Bengal, colors by Giovanna Nero, and letters by Lucas Gattoni. Selina unravels a worldwide conspiracy as 9 years ago in the Calico clubhouse, Selina is upset the rest of the gang is late since this will mess up their entire plan. Holly, however, tells her to relax since the team will be there on time, but Selina doesn't trust them since trust is earned and this isn't some game. Holly, however, thinks it is, continuing to tell Selina to calm down since they won't get caught. Selina remembers how making friends at the age of 13 is great since you have very little history to share. It's all new to everyone, so it's easy to make friends, and before you know it, you're stuck in a version of yourself you cannot escape. In the present, Selina is patched up by the doctor of the Wandering Rose, a highly exclusive off-the-radar fleet of yachts that is favored by mercenaries, data brokers, and other criminal power players. Finishing up with the doctor, she heads back to her quarters and uploads the footage from her helmet to the computer, knowing being in a place like the Wandering Rose is useful, since you can be whoever you want, and she's going to need to be someone other than Selina Kyle for a while. Diving right back into this really slick James Bond-like underworld of spies, mercenaries, and power players is awesome. I love this stuff, and getting to see more of it, and more of the absolute world outside of superheroes in general is just really great. It's something we haven't really seen a lot of, so getting to explore this world and what it's like outside of the capes and the cows is really interesting. And I like that it's very kind of futuristic all over the place. Like every place we go that's outside of, Gotham, Metropolis and all that, it feels very futuristic. Selina also pondering her own history, how she feels locked into a certain path thanks to the people she meets and the friends is great. This feels like the crux of her character. She doesn't want to be beholden to that one thing. She wants to be quote unquote free. It's Catwoman's MO. She doesn't want to be tied down to one thing. She needs that quick escape plan sort of thing. And I can see where Chi and Scott are going with this, where Holly is being positioned as like the thing that kind of connects all of the Calicos together. She's like the heart of their little operation. And that's what Selina has going for her now. She's lost that heart and she's on her mission to try and find out what Holly was getting into. Going over the video data, she can't determine who the copycat Calicos are or what the strange orb she nabbed was even for, since it just appears to be a solid metal sphere, nothing of note about it. Selina comes up with a pretty awesome idea to figure out what exactly it is. She decides to put it up for auction for $100 million, figuring a mysterious metal sphere with an unknown origin at an auction is a rich guy's vice, and they will have to have it, and it might draw out the actual owner of it. Setting up the auction, Selina bides her time, and it doesn't take long, as in Gotham, a mysterious woman finds the orb on an auction site, asking if her contact is still up for this mission. I really like how Selina is using her own skills as a career criminal and a thief to trap a fellow thief or trap a fellow criminal. It's not turning the book into some all-out action thriller. It feels like something you'd see in like a James Bond film or a Bourne film or some sort of realistic spy thriller. 9 years prior, Selina and the Calicos arrive at the First Bank of Gotham, intending on breaking into the chairman's office of the top floor. So if you actually finally get to meet the Calicos this issue, and they have some fantastic Catwoman and Bat family pulls, as one of them is Helena Bertinelli, and the red-headed member is Victoria Sage, a female gender-bent version of the DC character Vic Sage, who is better known to many as the hero The Question. Selina learns that they have all the information about the bank thanks to Helena, whose father is one of the bank's premium clients. Snagging an ID badge from a leaving cleaner, the Calicos sneak into the bank, taking down the security cameras thanks to Victoria's tech savviness. This is what I like about a heist story, where each member of the crew has one specific skill or certain part for the mission that they specialize in, and I really like how Snyder and Grayson add that into the storyline, where Selina finds that a problem, where in her dialogue she talks about how like she hates the idea that they each form that perfect group because each of them have that one specific skill set. They fit that niche. She hates that, being placed in a box sort of mentality, which continues her story about not wanting to like have a history that's already sort of set because of the people you meet and interact with and are friends with. I really like that idea that she kind of hates the the idea that they fit the usual stereotypical heist movie team, yet they do. Selena knows that having fixed roles in a crew has a catch to it, since now it's tied them all together, and once their story is fixed in place, it's really hard to change it. The team quickly find the computer they need in the office, gaining access to the richest families in Gotham's bank accounts, including the Falcone, Elliots, and the Bertinellis. The Calicos steal all of their money, sending it to various charities before quickly hiding from a patrolling guard they missed. Back in the present, Selena heads into an ice cave in Switzerland, having Jonesy scan the cave as she sets up some equipment that will deploy a calcium chloride drip in 1 hour. Since, as Selena puts it, she knows there's more than ice up in this mountain. Leaving the cave, Selena looks to find a nicer outfit as she heads up the mountain to the auction house. Now, this is totally a Ken Adams designed Bond villain lair. Hell, there was a place like this similar in the recent 007 First Light video game, up in the mountains, like hidden up in a glacier. And I'm liking that Selena is more of this type of flashy, sleek heist thriller, whereas the main universe counterpart at times feels more street level crime stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just kind of like the aesthetic that they're going for here, where it's very, you know, James Bond, high level crime. It's a little futuristic. It just works so well with the character. Selena enters the auction house knowing that this is where the 0.0001% meet and buy and sell the most volatile and dangerous items in the world, and then strip them away of any and all meaning. Passing security, Selena uses her special glasses to scan several of the buyers, getting Jonesy to deduce who might actually be the buyer. Jonesy alerts her that none of the people in the room are actually the buyer. However, something catches her off guard when a servant comes by and tells her that someone has bought the item she has up for auction in full. The man tells her to follow him since the winning bidder is waiting for her nearby. Selena is taken to a private room where she finds that the buyer is Victoria Sage, her old Calico crew member. This is a nice little twist. Selena isn't up against just some copycats, but literally her old friends too. It's just classic heist plot story. You know, the old ally is turned maybe villain and a levered, or just someone who has to go up against the main character. It's just so fantastic. Victoria isn't impressed that Selena tried to hawk off the thing that Holly tried to trust her with, but Selena tries to explain that she did it to try and figure out what the hell it is. Now also wanting to know how Victoria knew that Holly had a hold of it. Victoria does her big exposition dump, revealing that Holly came to her first, ranting about how she was tracking down something called the yarn. Victoria ended up turning her down, telling her to leave her alone, but later dug into what Holly had told her, and that's when the orb appeared on the auction house, and she had to track it down and find out who was selling it. During all of this, Selena's bomb has been slowly counting down, and she now has 4 minutes left to get the info and get out. She wants to leave with Victoria, who says that she'll let her know, the her in this situation being Helena Bertinelli, who smashes her way through the glass doors and takes out the auction house guards, shocking Selena even more than when she saw Victoria. I'm really loving the story slowly bringing the gang back together. It's just, as Selena said, their histories are too entangled and too, you know, solidified together that no matter how far apart they get, they will always find their way back to each other. And I like that, like I said before, they're using Holly as the grounding rod of this team, the glue in this team, where, you know, Holly's in danger, so all of her friends have sort of come up out of the woodwork to try and help her just because she's so likable. And it's something that friends do. With time running short, the three women race out of the office only to find every person in the auction house has been killed. Selena knows that something is off, noticing the strange shadows around the bodies, which reveal themselves not to be shadows at all, but invisible ninjas who attack the three women, stealing the box from Selena. There's a neat little bit of world building here. It's just really offhanded stuff here, but I like that Selena recognizes the assassins as something called the living shadows, and the way Selena talks about them, it's like a big deal when they appear, since it means whomever she's up against means business. It's just stuff like that all of these absolute books are filled with, just these like little one-liners that just build out the world and add a little bit of flavor to it, like the living shadows, invisible ninja assassins. That's so fucking cool. Selena unleashes her prehensile tail to knock one of the living shadows down, making him drop the box, but it's picked up by Cassandra Cain, someone Selena immediately recognizes thanks to her stance as the same person who took Holly. Instead of waiting around, she activates her suit, which she handedly was wearing under her dress, launching herself at Cassandra. Cassandra, being the least changed of the characters, at least visually, is kind of a little disappointing. Like, she's literally just wearing what would essentially be her orphan costume, sans a mask and a hood. And maybe there is going to be more to her. We obviously got the special issue for her coming up, and I'm sure we're going to dive into her story a little bit in this book as well. So I'm sure we're going to learn a lot more about her and Lady Shiva and all of these other characters around her and what makes her tick. But right now, she just feels just like normal Cassandra Cain. Selena fights Cassandra, finding something familiar about the way she moves, but she can't place it. She gets the upper hand in the fight, wrapping Cassandra up in the tail and demanding to know where Holly is and what she wanted from her. Cassandra doesn't answer, instead breaking out of the tail's hold and hitting Selena back with her bow star. Selena's watch begins to beep and the bomb she planted an hour earlier goes off, causing the entire facility to destabilize and begin to fall into the freezing ice below. Cassandra escapes through the rubble, and before Selena can give chase, she notices her old friend struggling with the living shadows, remembering the one stipulation she had when working with a crew. If anyone is left behind, they take the fall for the remaining 3, and there is no looking back. 9 years prior, the Calicos escape Gotham's bank, but Selena is grabbed by one of the security guards on her way out. She tells Yellis to escape, but Holly refuses, coming back into the building and knocking out the guard, telling Selena that she's helping her because they are friends, and friends stick together. Like I said before, Holly is the glue holding this group together, and even in her absence, it's working. She's rubbing off on Selena and all these other characters, and it's giving the character Holly Robinson some actually interesting plot relevance. I cannot really remember the last time Holly was like important in a Catwoman book. To be fair, I have not read a lot of Catwoman, but here they're actually making her like a big part of the character. And like I said, she's the heart of this entire group. All of this is happening is because she was kidnapped, and these women want to go and get their friend back because she means so much to them. And it's making Selena not kind of fall into that darkness that she kind of was at the start of that first issue, where she was just kind of like living a life and kind of, again, set in her ways, set in that role that she'd found herself in, something that she was recognizing but couldn't really get out of. And I like that Holly kind of just breezed into her life to upend it a little bit. Remembering Holly's words, Selena grabs Victoria and Helena with her tail, pulling them down into the chasm the bomb opened, telling them that she is saving them. Helena wants to know what the hell happened, and Selena tells them that the calcium chloride drop bomb she planted under the building slowly ate away the ice holding the auction house up, destabilizing the foundations. Suddenly, the women are swept away by a flood of water that was once the glacier that held up the building, spat out of the ice cave that Selena walked into earlier on and into the frozen tundra. The women survive, luckily, building a fire nearby to stay warm as they try and figure out what their next move is and what exactly the yarn is. Victoria seems to know what it is, revealing that it's quite a big threat, as the sphere that Selena was after was a key to unlocking a map that will lead the user to the yarn, which she explains is a synthetic intelligence so powerful it can create an unimpeachable reality. Elsewhere, Cassandra delivers the orb to her mother, Lady Shiva, activating it in a machine that shows them on a hologram the location of the yarn, something Selena knows might just be able to write herself a new history with. So what the yarn is still rather vague, like an intelligence that creates a reality. That's kind of rather nebulous, and I think it's like some system that basically allows the user to erase their history and give them a brand new identity. Fits in well with Selena's story about wanting a new life and wanting to not be beholden to one set history. It just makes sense it would be that. I'm wondering if there's going to be some ties to some larger absolute universe stuff, like maybe the intelligence is like an offshoot of Brainiac or something like that. Maybe it's an oracle or something. I also like the name the yarn. It's an interesting name because obviously, there's, strings of yarn, connecting people together. And there's obviously, it's like a ball of yarn, which associate with a cat playing with. It's a nice little cliffhanger to end the issue on, and does give us a little bit more of a clearer idea on what the plot going forward will be. The Calicos have got to rescue Holly and get the yarn before Cassandra and Lady Shiva use it for nefarious purposes. Super simple stuff, and I'm loving all of the James Bond heist movie influences. It's exactly what a Catwoman book should be. Absolute Catwoman issue 2 really laid out what the overall plot will be going forward in the next 3 issues really well. I love getting to explore Selina's past with the Calicos, her little heist crew, and how Holly Robinson is being positioned as like the heart of not just the team, but of Selina herself, and is the one thing stopping her from going over that edge into darkness like we saw in the first issue where she just wanted to just go away from everything. That coupled with some slick Bond villain lairs, cool action sequences, and an intriguing cliffhanger about what this whole yarn thing is that they're hunting, you've got yourself a fantastic issue here. I really enjoyed it and I cannot wait for issue 3. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.